All right, guys, let's go ahead and quickly have a closer look at everything that comes included with the kit. So starting off over here into the middle with the actual PTZ camera itself, this does look very small and compact and also lightweight. If we take a look over here at the back quickly, you can see that we do have a bunch of connections, which we will get a little bit more familiar shortly. And at the front of the camera lens, you will notice that we do have this nice little rubber protective cap over here for the lens to keep it protected when we are not using it. Over here, top right hand corner, we do have a metal wall mount that's going to allow us to mount the camera to the wall and possibly to the ceiling, depending on your configuration. Over here, we do have the user manual. And for the wall mount, we actually do have these screws and anchors that's going to allow us to mount the wall mount to the wall and also mount the ceiling. Over here, we do have a USB 3.0 cable that's going to allow us to connect this PTZ camera to our PC and be able to control this PTZ camera via a software. We do also have a power supply cable, AC/DC power supply, so we can go ahead and simply plug this into the wall, and on the other end over here, plug it into the back of the PTZ camera and power the camera that way. We do also have an RS adapter over here that's going to allow us to connect it to our controller, and a wireless remote controller to control the PTZ camera and also access the menu. So overall, guys, that is a quick look at everything that comes included with the kit. Why don't we go ahead and get a little bit more familiar with some of the specs and features and also the connections over here that we have at the back of this camera. Okay, so having a closer look over here at the front of the camera, you will notice onto the left-hand side, we do have a power LED indicator. On the right-hand side, we do have a status LED indicator. If we go ahead and flip the PTZ camera over here towards the back, starting on to the left-hand side, we do have a USB 3.0 output to connect this PTZ camera to our PC. Here we have an HDMI output to connect to an external monitor. Next to that, we also have a 3G SDI output as well. Here we have an audio line input for our audio and microphones. Here we have a network Ethernet connection to supply network access to this PTZ camera. Over here, we do have an RS-232 input and an RS-485/422, and along with the DC input to power the camera. So overall, guys, those are all the connections that we have at the back of the PTZ camera. Just quickly looking over here towards the bottom, we do have a 1/4-20 thread mounting option, so we can go ahead and connect it to a tripod or even mount it to the wall bracket mount and whatever other sort of mounting options that you have. I will also point out just a small little feature here. We do have these nice little rubber pads, so if we do want to place it onto our desk, it's not going to be sliding around everywhere. It's going to be nice and secure. So another nice feature about this camera, we actually do have a tally light right over here at the top of the lens, which will definitely come in very helpful. All right, guys, so check it out. I'm currently using the PTZ camera right now, and I have it connected via HDMI to this external monitor over here. And I'm also using my Panasonic GH6 camera just to kind of film the monitor itself, to kind of show you guys the behind the scenes. But not only do I have the PTZ camera connected to this external monitor via HDMI, I also have the PTZ camera connected to my PC wirelessly over NDI. And I'm using NDI tools on my PC, and from NDI tools, I've opened up OBS and I've added an NDI source, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So I'm recording with my Panasonic GH6, the monitor, and I'm also recording this right now in OBS. So I can kind of just show you guys the behind the scenes of me filming the monitor and also the actual footage from the PTZ camera at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and swap over to the OBS footage right now so you guys can see the actual footage coming from this PTZ camera over NDI and being recorded recorded in OBS. So again, what am I trying to get at? I want to show you guys the menu to get you guys a little bit more familiar with some of the settings that we have available to us. So I'm just going to use this wireless remote control over here. I'm going to click onto the menu button, and as you can see, this actually looks like a fairly new menu setup. I actually do like the icons and the way that it's laid out. So first thing that we have over here is the image. So let's go ahead and press enter to enter the image. As you can see here, we do have some basic settings over here as far as the sharpness, the brightness, the contrast, along with the gamma and the 2D noise reduction and the 3D noise reduction and the DRC, dynamic range compression. Currently I have it set to 0, and we can also mirror and flip the image if we want to, just in case you have it mounted to your ceiling or whatever kind of setup that you need to do. You do have the option to mirror and to flip it as well. So let's go ahead to the next setting over here, which is the exposure setting. As you see, I currently have it set to manual exposure, but we do have a few other options. I'm just going to go ahead and toggle to the right. We got shutter priority, we have iris, the aperture priority, we do also have the bright option as well, and back to auto exposure. So depending on what you're going to be filming, you can choose any one of these exposure settings. For this setup, since nothing is really changing as far as the exposure, I'm just going to keep it on manual so everything can kind of be just nice and consistent. If I come down over here to the gain, it's basically like the ISO on your camera, how sensitive the sensor and camera is going to be to light. So currently I have it set to 0, but we can go all the way up to 10. And as you see, if I toggle it up, each step is just going to make it brighter and brighter and kind of overexpose the image, which I don't want to do for the lighting that I currently am using right now. Next over here, the shutter speed. I do also have full control of the shutter speed. So I am filming right now at 1080p, 60 frames per second. So ideally, I do want my shutter speed to be double my frame rate. And unfortunately, I can't actually set it to 1/120. The closest that I can get is 1/125. As you see, if I toggle it once to the left, I got 1/100. And if I toggle it once over to the right, I got 1/180. So not exactly 1/120, but close enough. I think it's pretty good. Let's come back over here, which is the aperture. So right now I currently have it set to f5.8 because that's the exposure that I like. But just to go ahead and show you guys how wide open this aperture can actually go, let's go ahead and open this bad boy up. As you can see here, we got 1.6, very fantastic. So we're going to be able to get that nice blurry background and let a lot of light into this sensor, which is definitely going to be very helpful. So let's go ahead and go back to 5.6 where I had it. I think this is a pretty good exposure. So overall, we're done in the exposure setting over here. Let's go over to the next one, which is the white balance. As you can see, white balance, I currently have it to static. That's what I currently have it set to, which allows me to set the actual color temp. So basically, I just set the color temperature of the lights that I'm using, which is set to 5600, and that's exactly what I did over here. But if I wanted to, let's come back over to the top. As you can see, we have the static option, we have the auto option, the manual, we have the ATW and the OPWB, along with the static. Here we are back again. So within the static, again, as we talked about, the color temperature, we can adjust the saturation and the hue. In my case, this is the option that I like to use for the color temperature and white balance. So let's see what other options we have over here. The camera. So we got run scene. As far as those settings, it doesn't seem like I can change anything right now. I am trying to toggle left and right and it's not allowing me to change anything. But the digital zoom, by default, it's set to off, but we can go ahead and turn it on. And the digital zoom, we can actually set it to how high or how low or how much we want it to actually be incorporated, which is really nice. It's not kind of just doing whatever it wants. We can kind of max it out to what we want. So if I really wanted to stretch this out, it goes all the way up to digital zoom times 16, along with the optical zoom, which is fantastic. This thing super punches in really far. So right now I'm going to leave it at 16, but I'm going to turn the digital zoom off. Okay, so let's back out of this as far as the camera settings. Next over here, we have the PTZ settings. Let's go ahead and check this out. So we have the pan and tilt speed. Currently it's set to 5. Let's see how high this goes up to, which is basically 7. That's not bad. The preset speed also set to 5. So any presets that I have over here configured on the wireless remote controller or onto my PC, being able to control this PTZ camera, there is the preset speed. We have the PTZ trigger autofocus. I currently have it set to on, and the power up. So basically when the camera first powers up, where do you want it to point to? We can actually customize that. So right now I have it to default, which is home, which is basically just looking nice and straight. So let's back out of here. Next over here, we have system. So this is where we're going to be able to adjust the protocol address, the IR address, the mount mode. So you can see if I just toggle over to the right, currently I have it set to standard, but we can set it to ceiling if you have the camera mounted onto your ceiling. and back to standard over here. The protocol, we got Visca, Pelco D, Pelco P, and we can set up the baud rate and the video format. So this is where I currently have the 1080p 60 frames per second, but we do have a few other options over here, 1080p's, 720p's, a whole bunch of different frame rates. So I'm just going to go back to where I had it at 1080p 60, and the communication mode, we have the RS485 input, the language, the display info, back to default, and the network settings. So this is where you're going to be able to find all your IP addresses and everything. So right now I'm not going to currently click on this because it's going to basically just expose all of that information as far as my internet IP address and all of that, and I don't want to have to do that extra work of kind of just blanking it out just for privacy reasons. So I'm not going to be clicking on the network, but we can go ahead and configure everything right over there. Next we have the device info, pretty much the last option. As you can see, the video format 1080p 60, there's all the information that we have over there. So other than that, that's a quick look at the menu. This remote control is definitely very nice to use. All right, guys, so here we are onto the PC, and I came to the Avkans website, and we're on the download page, and we're just gonna actually go ahead and download and install the camera CMS software, which is going to allow us to set up, control, and preview the PTZ cameras. So we do have a version for Windows and for Mac, but just before we go ahead and get started, I just wanna let you know that I have the PTZ camera connected and powered on right now. So what I have connected is the power cable and also the network Ethernet connection. That's all I have connected. And so what we're going to do over here is come to the Avkans website, as we said, and we're going to go ahead and click on the Windows tab over here, and it's going to allow us to download this software. So you can just go ahead and press download. I've already downloaded and installed it. So basically what it's going to look like, it's going to basically be an icon right over here onto your desktop, camera CMS. You just want to go ahead and double click on it. So once it goes ahead and launches, as you see over here, we do have some information. It's already detecting my camera over here, and you can see that it is connected. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and click on this, and I'm going to go ahead over here to main view. That's the next thing we're going to click on. And as you see, we have this preview window, top left hand corner. That is the camera that I have connected, the LV20N. I'm just going to go ahead and double click on it, and bang, there we go. This is the footage from the PTZ camera, just as simple as that. Very nice to use. So we can obviously connect multiple different cameras over here. And again, it's going to allow us to set it up, control it, configure it, all this different kind of stuff. So just some basic information for you guys over here. We do have full control of the panning and the tilting, and along with the zooming, and along with the focus, the iris, the exposure, and we can set a bunch of different presets over here. And we can actually go ahead and select settings, which is going to open up this other page, top left hand corner. We can go ahead and press the lower bound for the tracking. This is for the AI tracking. And now we can go ahead and adjust this green line that you see over here. So this green line should be below the person that you want to be tracking. It should be below their head. So as you see, the line is below my head. This is as low as the line goes for this shot because the camera is only about 2 feet away from me right now. So once you have done that, you can go ahead and press OK. We can go back to the basic settings over here. I have tilt motion enabled, and you just want to make sure that the track sensitivity, track speed, and the lost time, these are not set to 0. So you can configure these to whatever you want, but just don't have them set to 0. Okay, so once we are done over here in this page, confirm that nothing is at 0. We're just going to come back to over here, looking good. I pressed OK, fantastic. So let's go to exit. Okay, so now we're going to go back to this main preview page. If I wanted to go full screen, I can just go ahead and double click on the video image here. Here we are, full screen. I double click again and it goes back to smaller. So it looks like we are pretty much almost ready to start tracking. So what I'm going to do over here is just set one of my presets. So here is preset 1, and I'm going to say that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and press set. So it's going to save it. Preset 1 saved. Perfect. All right, so what we're going to do next is actually go ahead and press start, which is going to enable the auto tracking. So over here onto the bottom left hand corner, you can see the little start buttons. Let's go ahead and click on that. And now beside the track text over here, we do have a little green indication, which is telling us that it is tracking. So I'm just going to go ahead and move over here to the right a little bit. Okay, move over here a little bit back and towards the left. So now I'm going to go ahead and stand up. Okay, so the camera is basically tracking me. Seems like it's doing a pretty good job. I'm gonna move back. And as you will notice, the camera is actually zooming in automatically, and it's just kind of keeping me in frame, which seems like it's doing a good job. Right now, I am approximately, let's say a good maybe 12, 15 feet away from the camera. Let's go ahead and continue to move back. We'll just come over here to the left. Pretty good, seems like it's doing a good job. Let's move a little bit closer. You can see that it's adjusting the pan, the tilt, the zoom all together, and it does look like it seems like it's doing a great job. So I'm very impressed with that. Let's just go ahead back over here. Now maybe call it a good 15, 20 feet away from the camera. Overall, I'm sure that the image quality is looking pretty good. I'm counting on the autofocus to do a good job, and that's why I'm doing this test for you guys. I am using currently right now manual exposure, and I do have the manual white balance, so the white balance is not kind of changing, but the autofocus I do have enabled, and the AI auto tracking as well. So let's go ahead, get a little bit closer, take a seat over here, and we do have full control as far as the tracking speed and the sensitivity and all of that. So overall, it does seem like it's doing a good job. Let's go ahead and turn off the auto tracking. Okay, perfect. So I think now you guys are a little bit more familiar with the software over here. So one other thing that I wanted to go ahead and show you guys briefly. So go to device management, and within device management, we do have this remote configuration option. So let's go ahead and click on that. And over here, we do have a bunch of settings that we can go and configure. I'm not going to go into crazy detail, but as far as the streaming, you can set that up. We got the network, RTMP, the protocol. You can upgrade the firmware version, and we can also do some password resets over here, and also some synchronization settings between other cameras, etc., and also the NDI as well. So overall, we do have a bunch of settings over here within this software, which does seem like it's pretty friendly and easy to use. So next, the other thing I wanted to show you, I'm going to come over here to the internet, back to the Avkans website, and what we're going to do over here is open up a new web page, and I'm going to go ahead and enter in my IP address, which is the same IP address that my PC is on, and the same IP address that the camera is connected to. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and bang, it's going to take me to this login page. So for a first-time user, as it does say in the user manual, so the username is admin, ADMIN, no capitals, and the password is the same thing, ADMIN, but we're going to add in 1, 2, and 3. So let's go ahead and press the login. Okay, and bang, just like that, it's already giving me a preview of the camera. So I will be honest with you, I do like this web page interface a lot more. It feels like it's I do have full control, and I do have a bunch of more settings, and it just, I don't know, I just kind of feel like I like the web page quite a bit. So over here onto the left hand side, I'm not going to go into crazy detail, but we do have a bunch of different options over here. But let's just take a look briefly in the live view over here. So we can go ahead and configure some presets. So for an example, let's enter in 2. Okay, and let's move the camera, let's pan it over to the left hand side here. For an example, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Okay, so we're zooming in, and now we're gonna say, you know what, I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and save this. So set it. We're gonna press set, bang. So now I'm gonna go and enter in 1 over here, and I'm gonna call up preset number 1. What's that doing? Bringing it back over to me. And I really like how nice and fast and quick and accurate and precise the camera is. So let's go ahead and enter 2 over here into the preset, and let's call up number 2. Bang, just like that, going back to preset number 2. So we can configure a bunch of different presets right over here. So let's go back to preset 1, and we're gonna call that up. Bingo, back on me. Perfect. So next over here, beside the presets, we do have access to the menu of the camera. So let's go ahead and select menu over here. And as you can see, we can have the menu onto the top left-hand corner, and we can basically navigate through the menu with these arrows of the PTZ camera over here. So let's just go for an example, like to white balance. Let's enter the white balance. And if we needed to adjust any of these settings, we can use these arrows left and right, up and down, and configure that as we need to. And if we're ready to exit, say we adjusted the parameter that we need, we can go and exit right there. So let's go ahead and exit out of here. As you guys saw, we do have these arrows for the control of the PTZ camera. And let's just go ahead and give you an example. So say I had it all the way to the left and I wanted to quickly recenter. I just press this home button, and bang, it's back to home. And ideally, yes, that's not where I want it for this shot. So ideally, I probably would want to go to one of my presets. Anyways, we got the pan and tilt speed that we can adjust over here. all the way from 1 up to 7, and also the initial position. So when we first power on the camera, where do we want it to be? So we can put it to any preset that we want, which is really nice for easy, fast setups. And as you guys saw earlier, we got the zoom in and the zoom out control over here, and along with the zoom speed. So this is majority of the place where I'm going to be spending a lot of my time over here controlling the camera. Next, let's go ahead to briefly look at the image. Pretty straightforward. It's basically everything that we have within the menu, but overall we can easily access it over here. So we got the mirror, the flip, the noise reduction, the contrast, sharpness, brightness, all that good stuff. Next over here we have the focus. So I've enabled autofocus. We can also use manual focus right over here, near and far, and we can actually go ahead and enable digital zoom as we were talking about earlier. It can go all the way up to 16 times digital zoom along with the 20 times optical zoom. Next over here we got the exposure settings. Perfect. As we talked about, I have it set to manual exposure, but we do have all of these other options: shutter priority, aperture priority, brightness priority, and auto as well. And we can configure the shutter speed, the gain, exposure, all that good stuff. Next over here, we got the white balance. We got static white balance, and we can see over here that I have the color temperature set to 5600. We can adjust the hue and saturation, all of that. So to be honest with you, this is really much easier to control all of these settings instead of coming over here and going into the actual menu itself. You can just click any one of these tabs and adjust all of those settings. So I really do like that. Next over here onto the left hand side, we got tracking configuration. So over here, similar to what we saw in the software, we have over here onto the web page. So we can go ahead and adjust the tracking height. So now we got a blue line, and we can basically tell the camera, okay, you know what, my person that I want you to track, this line is below their head. And now we can just go ahead and press save for an example. So pressing the check mark. And if you want to enable the AI auto tracking, you can do that right over here. The tracking switch on and off. If you need to make any other further adjustments, you can do that right over here with the buttons. And we got the base configuration, so we can actually tilt motion. We can either turn that on or turn that off, adjust the sensitivity, the tracking speed, the target lost time, and we also have the power on status. So basically when you first power on the camera, do you want auto tracking to automatically be on, or do you want it to automatically be off? So next over here, we got the audio configuration. You can see audio input set to line input, sample rate, 48 kilohertz, and the volume, etc. Video configuration, we got the mainstream or the substream. We can set it 1080p, for an example 720p, the bit rate, constant bit rate or variable. We can adjust the bit rate, the video frame rates, the encoding H.264 and 5, encoding level, and the iframe intervals, etc. So we can go ahead and configure all of that there. Media configuration, so this is where we're going to be able to set up the media protocol configuration, the RTSP, the RTMP, and the RTMPS, and the SRT as well. So you can do all of that right over there. The NDI configuration, again, I really do like that NDI feature, just really makes it nice and easy to use and connect to your PC wirelessly. So next we have the control protocol configuration, the VSCA transmission. We can go ahead and enable it or turn it off, the connection protocol, the work mode, so we can go ahead and save that. And finally over here to the bottom, underneath the control protocol configuration, we have that nice feature of that tally light at the front of the PTZ camera. As you see, I currently have it set to the tally light to be on auto, but we can set it to green or red or totally off. So I'm going to leave mine in auto because that's going to be the most helpful for me, because when the camera is going to be in the preview screen in either OBS or vMix, the tally light will turn green. And when the camera is going to be sent to the program, to your viewers, to the live stream, the tally light will be the red color. So this is definitely a very nice feature that I'm going to be taking advantage of, because I do not have any other PTZ cameras or cameras in general that have this tally light feature. Really impressed with this right here. System configuration over here, we got user manage, so we can basically go ahead and change our password. The Ethernet configuration, the firmware update. If you want to do a firmware update to the camera, you can go ahead and drag the file right into here, and the device info as well. So overall, as you guys can see, the web page is actually really nice, easy to use. Another thing that I wanted to show you guys, you can actually make this full screen if you wanted to. We can press escape to exit, and we can actually rotate this over here. So we have the left and right buttons that we can rotate it just in case maybe you need to rotate it for whatever reason. So overall guys, hopefully you guys are a little bit more familiar with this camera.